Good morning and welcome to Our Issues Milwaukee. I'm your host, Andrea Williams. Our focus this morning is on breast cancer awareness and a couple of outstanding organizations that truly make a difference in the lives of those who are diagnosed with breast cancer and spreading awareness. Breast cancer is the most commonly diagnosed cancer in women, and each year it's estimated that over 220,000 women in the U.S. will be diagnosed with breast cancer and more than 40,000 will die from it. My first guest represents an organization that provides exceptional breast cancer support services to individuals after they've been diagnosed. Ginny Finn is the executive director of ABCD, that's After Breast Cancer Diagnosis, and Minerva Cornejo is a breast cancer survivor, program specialist, and mentor for ABCD. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Thank you both for being here. And I know people are probably saying, hey, it's November and October just passed, but I feel like this. Women and men are diagnosed with breast cancer every single day. So I think that is a great time to talk about it anytime, because people deal with this scenario on a daily basis. So we're going to keep the conversation going even after Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So thank you both for being here. Ginny, let's start off talking more about ABCD, which we've established means After Breast Cancer Diagnosis.
Yes, sure. As many of your viewers may know, ABCD is around for 16 years now and was founded by Melody Wilson Oldenburg, who was also a journalist as you are. And Melody found her diagnosis to really change her life. She was being called constantly at the TV station. She was talking with people. And this was back in 1992. And she thought, there has got to be a better way, no matter how helpful I want to be. The fact that so many people aren't finding what they need. So fast forward, she worked with the medical community and other breast cancer survivors to create ABCD, which provides personalized and one-to-one support services to people who are affected by breast cancer. And so that's the patients, that's the survivors, that's people who are living with cancer, because those with metastatic disease are always in treatment, and of course their loved ones. And we've been doing that in various communities throughout the state for a long, long time. And now, although we're Wisconsin rooted, we are nationwide.
That's awesome. And Melody, I had the pleasure of interviewing her on several occasions in talking about ABCD, and she really did fight all the way to the end in making sure people who were diagnosed knew what direction they could turn to and didn't feel like they were in this alone. And she's been gone now, and I want to say about 6 years.
6 years, just actually 6 years in a couple of weeks, November 9th.
And it's a remarkable that her vision lives on. So it's a beautiful thing in that regard. I want to talk to Minerva about your role at ABCD, because I did mention not only are you a breast cancer survivor, you work as a mentor and you're a program specialist. So in talking about being diagnosed, you know firsthand what that feels like. Talk about some of the things that you went through with your diagnosis that led you on the journey that puts you right here today.
Okay, well, I was diagnosed back in 2011, and I'm very thankful that I got diagnosed, because I was my own advocate. I was proactive. I knew my family history, and I think that made a huge difference with me getting screened at an early age, and I got diagnosed. And I had to go through, multiple surgeries, but I'm here and I wanted to share my story. That way other women that are young can also be proactive in their health. Because I think that, sometimes people don't know that there's resources available to them, or don't know what the guidelines are. There's many different factors why a woman doesn't get screened, and especially in the Hispanic population, sometimes it might be a cultural thing or a language barrier, but there's a lot of things that prevent women from getting screened, and I wanted to use my voice to bring that awareness and also support someone, going through their journey.
Yeah. I think that's wonderful, and you were going to finish your statement.
Yes. Oh, and I was just going to say that, one thing is a diagnosis, and once you survive the diagnosis, I mean, there's a whole journey ahead of you. And every journey is unique and individual to the person. No one is exactly the same, but the fact that we have ABCD, where we can connect an actual mentor based on diagnosis and treatment, other factors such as age or family situation. I had small children at the time. That's always wonderful to be able to connect with someone who already past that.
Yeah, and you're talking about not only helping someone who's been diagnosed deal with maybe some of the symptoms they'll have after chemo and or radiation, but for some women they lose their hair, and that is a major thing. So if, let's say, you went through that, you can say, no worries, I know of this place who has great wigs or scarves or whatever the case, and they don't feel like they have to go through that and feel the pressure of what a woman would naturally feel in losing something like their hair. So when you talk about being a mentor, what are some of the main things that you feel women are in need of when it comes to someone to talk to?
I think first and foremost, I think it's just that connection to let them know I'm okay, and that you're talking to someone who's already, gone through treatment or whatever. It just makes you feel a little bit more confident and secure. I also like for women to feel empowered and for them to, get the answers that they need if they don't feel that they're getting their questions answered by their doctors, or just in general, just to kind of like take it all in, because it's a time where everything's totally out of control. As soon as you get that breast cancer diagnosis, your world is about to change. But if you can talk to somebody and say, this is what you can expect. I mean, like you said, it can be as simple as, how to prepare for surgery, chemotherapy, or losing your hair. These are resources that are available to you. I found sleeping in a recliner for a week after my surgeries helped me. Little things like that. But it's about having that connection, that one-to-one support.
Yeah, and Ginny, that one-on-one training that you give to individuals like Minerva to be a mentor really makes a difference. And you also have training that's for family members and friends.
Absolutely.
Because if you're married with small children, then your children and your husband obviously would be affected as well. So talk about those support groups.
Thank you. Actually, it's interesting because I think people assume it's only the patient, but it affects an entire family.
Yeah.
And in fact, just last night I was at the grocery store and I was chit-chatting with the lady at the checkout, and she knew that I worked at ABCD. It's my regular grocery store. And the gentleman behind me heard the conversation, and he walked with me out to the parking lot, and his wife had just been diagnosed earlier in the day. And he had heard about us actually on the radio, because one of our male mentors had done an interview recently. And by the end of our conversation, he had my card and the phone number and was calling the next day because he wanted to get support for himself, because he didn't want to say the wrong thing to his wife, and because he was unnerved and a little scared.
Absolutely.
And so the training is really important, and on a number of levels. I think everybody wants to be helpful. It's very human. But I think, first of all, once you've been through a journey like Minerva has, you really want to learn about self-care, because turning around and helping somebody else, unless you are still in a good place, isn't actually good for you. And so a lot of our training focuses on self-care, and it is suitable for both the patient and for the family member. We have different modules for different folks, and they're also together. And in fact, thank you for putting the plug in, because we have 2 mentor trainings coming up. It's November, and as you mentioned, breast cancer awareness and education does not stop.
That's right.
So on the 6th and 7th, there's a training session, and on the 20th and 21st. And what that means is Friday night after work, those are both, the first days are Fridays, we give you a lovely meal and we do the basics and the orientation. And the next day, morning and early afternoon, you'll also spend with us. And we provide training, everything from practice mentoring to making sure your medical information's up to date, not because we're going to turn you into a doctor, but because you have to recognize certain terms. And then we also teach all kinds of self-care, so that while you're helping somebody else, you know how to take care of yourself.
Absolutely. That's what it's all about. And there may be someone watching right now who wants to become a mentor because they too have been through it. So what would they need to do?
Very easy. They can give us a call at 414-977-1780. And when the recording gives them choices, tell them to choose the program department. Or if they would prefer, they can simply email program department, but DEPT, at abcdmentor.org.
Okay, and Minerva, what we want to find out is what's the commitment? So once you become a mentor, what are you expected to do from that moment that you say, this is what I'm going to be?
Well, we like to be flexible with our mentors, and we do have two programs. One is a helpline, and the other one is a match program.
Okay.
For people that are on the go and they just want to, still help, but they have certain time limits that they're only available, for certain times, and it's more on a not really on a one-to-one basis. It's more like immediate support. That's the helpline, and then we have the mentor program, which is where the mentor will call the participant, and it's all based on the participant and the mentor. They establish a relationship, and it's all based on what the participant's needs are. But we always want to make sure that our mentors are taken care of, so we have great communication within the mentors in our department just to make sure that the participant is getting their needs met, and also making sure that our mentors are in a good place.
And it's really easy volunteering in the sense that it's all by phone or email or text, whatever the person chooses. So you don't have to come to a meeting or this, that, and the other thing. Certainly grown-ups can choose to have a cup of coffee together if they want to, but that's not at all required. And then as an ongoing support to the mentor, because this is part of their healing experience, every month we have continuing education and support workshops, there's webinars, and then several times a year we do things in person in different parts of the state.
Sounds good. And that breast cancer helpline, I definitely want to put that number up on the screen. It's 1-800-977-4121, and that's where people can call and ask any question that comes to mind, right?
Absolutely.
And if you can't answer it, you know somebody who can.
In fact, actually, we call them resource mentors. There are folks that, because they're so far from the time of diagnosis, maybe they're not mentoring anymore, and then what they do is help us make sure that our resources are vetted and still reliable, so that we're not giving people information that is not current.
Right, makes a lot of sense. And what I love most, I think, is that you go the extra mile in reaching broad communities, and also putting special emphasis on who is matched with who, because you mentioned something earlier. It really does make a difference when we talk about the numbers, the statistics when it comes to African American and Hispanic women. They are slightly different than those of white women. So there are some forms or stages of breast cancer that are more aggressive when it comes to African American women in particular. So a lot of different things.
It's very important to understand that breast cancer isn't one disease, and so that's why the custom matching is helpful. But another thing is, and one of the most important things that Minerva ends her phone call with is what's of specific and potentially most important concern to you right now. Because if a lady gave us all kinds of information, but she's really, really concerned about how to talk to her young children, that's her number one thing, that will drive the match, to make sure that she gets something that's responsive to what she prioritized, because everything else has been taken out of her control, and this doesn't have to be.
Yeah, and it is really overwhelming in the simple fact that if a woman goes for a screening or a mammogram and they call you back and they say, we have some questions, we want to just go through, that right there is enough to put people, people's heads start spinning at that very moment. So even in that scenario, they can call ABCD to kind of get some questions answered, because doctors, bless their hearts, sometimes they talk in the jargon and it's going over your head just a little bit, and to have someone that's able to kind of break it down and say, oh, well, all that means is, that's kind of in a nutshell what you do best.
Well, and it's it's really interesting that you mentioned that, because in 1992, when Melody was first diagnosed, there wasn't a lot of easily available information. There was some, but not a lot. Now you could just Google breast cancer and everything under the sun comes up, and it's very hard, unless you're part of this world, to know what information is valid and what is just, maybe I shouldn't be on the internet because now I'm getting scared.
And people start diagnosing themselves by going to the internet. So we definitely recommend that women definitely take that time to know their family history, and also to get that mammogram or that screening. We'll talk more about that in the second part of this show, but wanted to quickly just find out some of the ways that people can donate to ABCD to help make a difference.
Quite a few different ways. First of all, we always accept a check. That's lovely. But you might notice a lot of it goes on in October, but it goes on during the entire year. There might be promotions in local businesses where they provide a percentage or a certain dollar amount. And not only do we appreciate that support, but we particularly like it when they specifically say what they're going to give, so that the customer feels comfortable that money is actually going to the intended charity. The other thing, if people people are participating in workplace giving. We are not a United Way agency, but here in Southeast Wisconsin, something called Community Health Charities is also as part of workplace giving, and you can actually just look on the checklist and designate ABCD, and I think currently it's 94 cents on that dollar is coming directly to ABCD, so it's very efficient. But we also like old-fashioned things. If folks want to donate a case of paper, we're more than happy to accept that. We have folks that come by and provide us office supplies and visit. And then, of course, volunteering is always welcome. We have projects they can volunteer on, or they can come to one of our special events. Any of that.
Sounds good. And I thank you both for coming by and just really making our viewers aware of all the outstanding things that you're doing, and maybe they can utilize your services or they know someone who can. That's for sure, and that's what it's all about. Thank you both.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Ginny Finn is the Executive Director of ABCD, and Minerva Cornejo is a breast cancer survivor, program specialist, and mentor for ABCD. And when we return to Our Issues Milwaukee, we're going to continue our conversation about breast cancer awareness. We'll meet a representative from a program that's goal is to encourage women to get regular breast health screenings and to talk openly about breast cancer and the impact it can have on their lives. We'll find out more about Kohl's Conversations for the Cure right after this.